Wait, welcome. Hi, guys. You're most welcome to this auspicious occasion. We're glad to have you here. And
Wait, are people already commenting?
I'm seeing them already on.
No, we're seeing comments on the side.
Yeah,
What's up?
people, others bots.
Yeah. Hi guys.
Hi, Kristen. How are you?
Good, good. How you been?
I'm excited. It's Friday.
Same, same,
do you
same.
ever do that thing where you count? Sometimes you count weeks by sleeps.
Should ask
Like,
Trudy.
like, and you're like,
For more sleeps.
four more
For more
sleeps
sleeps.
this week. Eventually, what ends up happening is that because your body is so used to waking up at a specific time,
Mm.
you feel earlier, and instead is that you stay in bed to try and console yourself, so that it seems like at least I spent longer time in bed, but you didn't really sleep. And I don't know, maybe it's just me,
Mm.
but
Maybe just you. Because some of us, if the alarm has not gone off, eh, who-
to go, you know,
so
man,
the
yeah,
alarm first has to go off, then you can open your eyes. So Saturdays, it's really the same thing. Weekends, so
yeah.
yeah, we
I
get in
remember,
and sleep.
I remember whenever you struggle. That's for those people who struggle to get sleep.
Mm.
I remember sleeping morning desk, and you like even have two like in the like in the people struggling with sleep. I think is rather interesting.
It is actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining, boys and girls. Um, this this uh,
Are we on? Mm. You can press this one.
oh guys, yeah, please make it. We are also making ourselves comfortable. You're almost welcome to this live. Uh,
Christine here.
yeah, and we are happy to be with you on this one here. I think that we're uh, this is about business people, and I'm aware 90% MSMEs. Yeah. So Uganda has 90% MSMEs that make up their private sector. And for us here, what that means for us is that definitely we have to be mindful about that space there. And some of them have seen MSME Garage. Well, I think it would be nice for us to start by maybe introducing the MSME Garage, you know. And basically, I think it was 2017, Kristen, right? In 2017, Barefoot Law starts a project, and this project was simply, can we be able to maybe give more attention to businesses? And I think when it does this, what ends up happening is that we start realizing certain trends. Whereas many people know that Uganda is a very entrepreneurial country, we realized, for example, that 70% of businesses in Uganda don't make it past their second birthday. That's true. Many of them die small or succeed small. Yeah. You know, there's a certain threshold you reach, and if you can take care of your family and pay bills and contribute to a few introductions here and there and weddings, you're good to go. And yet, this is 90% of our private sector. And so that's where Barefoot Law, the brainchild of MSME Guard, decided, you know what, we need to just create something specifically for businesses. And Christine and I enjoy doing that a lot, obviously. And today we have the pleasure of talking about business registration. Yeah. Yeah. So, Christine, I wanted to start from here. Mm-hmm. Because me, I know I've done this before. Have you ever owned a business, run a business, supported a business? Like, what is your experience with businesses apart from being a lawyer? Yeah.
Yeah, I have actually tried
Yeah.
opening a business.
You tried.
I tried, but yeah, the reality on ground is totally different. Like it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard running a business. It's hard starting a business. It's for people that really have, I don't know, but like you need to have thick skin to actually run business in this country.
Yeah.
So yeah, I tried a business. I actually have a business page still up, but I don't know when I last
So
engaged.
the business page is still up, but is the business still up?
No, I put a halt to it for now, really. Yeah.
I think for me, I did a lot of business starting all the way from campus. I think I sold phones, I sold shoes, I sold. I once got into a partnership with a friend of mine, and we started a saloon with like one chair and spirit. There was a kiosk somewhere, and yeah, we just bought one chair and we got one barber, and we started the business. It was short lived as well, obviously, and I don't think even I ever thought about registering it or anything whatsoever. For me, when I did the business, all I was thinking about was I could just make extra money so that campus life is a bit easier for myself. I wasn't really thinking, okay, this is a serious business. And I think that's where I want to start from. I realized that whereas many people are engaged in business, we don't mean business about business, pun intended. Yeah, we don't mean business about business. And I think that's what this live is all about. Yeah. For those of you who are joining us, is that I think it's high time we mean business about business. And we're here to just talk about how intentional business in the legal environment looks like. Yes. And one start from the very start, Christine. You have an idea. Because generally speaking, all businesses are ideas to provide any good or service to the public with the view of making a profit. Yes. When someone has an idea, yeah, and they are now entering into the business environment, where is the first place we are thinking in terms of the actualization of it? We're now moving out of theory, we're now entering into it. Where do you think is the first direction they ought to be thinking about?
Yeah, for starters, you have a business idea. So under the legal framework in Uganda, there are different business entities or rather ventures that you need to actually focus on and decide that, okay, whereas I want to start a business, what kind of business do I want? Do I want to do the business alone? Do I want to run it as an individual? Okay. Or do I need some partners in this? They could just be partners and not really like, it's not so serious. It's just, Ben has like he is an expert in a particular thing, so I want to bring him on board just to just to offer us that particular service. And then you find there is an accounting guy, and you're like, okay, let's bring in this person. He's so good with books, so he's going to take charge of our books. And then you have someone else who is just very innovative. They sit in their comfort, and the ideas that be flowing through their head is just crazy. So you're like, okay, let me have all these people together. We form something and just start making money.
Yeah.
Then there could be, you could also just sit down and be like, but maybe that is not my style.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe I want actually shares. I want my business
Portion.
to have shares.
Yeah.
So in having the shares,
Mm.
okay, so you then have to think, I
Mm.
need share holders in
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
particular business. So
Mm.
what will be their stake in the business? Does Ben have to own like 50%, or do I have to own like 70%? You get?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, and
there.
I think actually most people who start businesses start from that place. I think I don't have the data on this. I've never made a survey, but from my experience as a multiple business establisher, yeah, I realized that most times we start businesses with people we know.
Yeah,
They could
that's
be
true.
family, they could be friends,
Yeah.
and I think very many people who are watching this have had experiences with that. And I think that's part of not meaning business about business. Yes, that despite the fact that many of our businesses begin with people that we know,
Yeah.
either family members, your girlfriend, your boyfriend,
Friends.
your friends, your
Yeah.
schoolmates, they, when you decide and say we're going to start a business,
Yeah.
there is a business, like you need to mean business. I think that's really the theme about today. Like, how do you mean business about business? Yes.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that, of course, there are many considerations to think about now that you have an idea.
Yeah.
And I think let's start from there. Those are the considerations to have before choosing, let's call it a business vehicle.
Yeah.
By business vehicle, I mean, what sort of thing do I set up to be able to run this business with?
Yeah.
Because I know very many Ugandans, for example, think that the only way you can do business is if you have a company. But Christine, you and I know there are very many other business vehicles that you can be able to set up for the purpose of doing business, and they are all appropriate for a specific reason, which we're going to get into as we continue in the course of this conversation here. But now that you have an idea and you think it's potent, you've convinced a friend, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, an OG, an OB, you've convinced a parent and whatnot, yes? Now that you've come together, or even if you are alone, yes? Now you must think, if I am choosing a business vehicle, yes, I must be able to choose it according to what is appropriate to help us function and work together and to reconcile the people who are setting up the business and the idea. Because we know for a fact that not every business works in every vehicle, for example.
Not at all.
For example, not all businesses work well as companies.
Yeah.
Yes. Then also, not all people are good to be shareholders with or partners with. So I think, Christine, an interesting place for us to begin with is, I know there are hundreds of business vehicles that exist, yes? But we're in Uganda, we are Ugandans, we have a Ugandan experience, we know Ugandan law, you know. What are some of the most common, just let's list them up that you know briefly, yes? What are some of those business vehicles that anyone who is considering starting up a business could consider? Producer has a question. Yes. He is saying, what is a business vehicle, sir? Well, a business vehicle, T, is just a fancy word of how do you conduct the business. Let's imagine a business is a passenger. Yes. How should that passenger move within the business environment? That's what we mean by a business vehicle. It's just something with which you're going to, how you're going to operate the business. That's yes. True. Because we've said that there are very many styles of operating businesses. It's not only companies, guys. Mark that it's not just companies. It's not necessarily the case. So Christian is going to help me just highlight a few of those ones there. What are some of those business vehicles, as we're now calling them, that someone could consider that maybe are even common in the Ugandan system? Yeah. I think you can start maybe with companies, since we've already mentioned that one. Even T, I'm sure you know that one.
Yeah, actually. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
And just as Ben has stated, the most common business vehicle that many business people in Uganda actually venture in is what we call companies. Yeah. Yeah, and obviously there are various types of companies. Yeah, we have companies limited by shares. So by limited by shares, it means you are out here to actually make money. So most businesses that open those kinds of companies are out here to make money. Yeah. And then we have the companies limited by guarantee. These ones are purely charitable. Yeah. You want to give back to the community. Probably it's that community that has brought you up. So you feel deep down in your heart, you just want either to also like take on maybe people that I don't know, like just giving back to the community. It could be taking care of orphans, or maybe just like maybe I don't know, like digging boreholes in a particular village and just providing clean water to a particular community. And obviously, as those people come to receive those particular services, you are not like charging them. Like the company is really not making money for profit for the individuals to benefit.
Actually, I've seen some people of recent online asking this question, and I think we could address it at this point here. Yes, we know that companies limited by guarantee are the choice vehicle. Yes, for most people who don't intend to make profit. Yes, however, you and I, Christine, know that there are companies limited by guarantee that do make money. However, they are what we call social enterprises. Now, what a social enterprise is it's a company limited by guarantee that does make money. However, the money is not treated as profit, but it is treated as resources for sustainability of the entity. For example, I remember there's a time we registered a company limited by guarantee here, and the company was basically there's these two brilliant ladies. I don't know if you remember them, but they had created they had found technology to be able to make pads, sanitary pads, for girls using local, easy to find materials. I think it was banana fiber. And what they wanted to do was to be able to sell these pads here, not to make profit out of them, because they wanted to make sure that girls, even deep down there, could be able to have these pads here. But of course, to be able to create these pads here and to keep themselves in operation, they needed to get some money back. So eventually, you can have companies limited by guarantee. You are making money, but your goal is not profit making. Your goal is sustainability. So the money that is made by a company limited by guarantee, which is a social enterprise, is basically money that is for operational purposes to keep yourselves going. Because, for example, the girls themselves who are making the pads, since you're going to spend all your time making pads throughout the year, you need to also earn a living, maybe. So you might be able to pay salaries. You might need fuel to go to the different villages. Maybe you might even buy a vehicle to make sure you supply them. You might need factory equipment. So all the money you make from selling the pads goes to sustaining that, so that for a long time people are able to access your cheap pads, but you're not making profit. I think that's an important one there out there.
Actually, thank you, Ben, for that, because we've had so many questions of people like asking, like, are NGOs supposed to charge? Like, are NGOs supposed to make money out of these things? And thank you, Ben, for that. What Ben has just elaborated here answers that question. I hope many of us that had those questions have actually had
got that answer.
Have gotten an answer to that. So those are really, so that's
are those all the companies have you finished all the companies? Because you had mentioned, of course, the company limited by shares. You go to the limited by guarantee. Are there any other?
There are also public companies, but obviously, like those ones are not the common.
Yes, I'm sure they're not on this live. Yes.
But there are also public companies. Yes, and then so maybe just, I think, to bounce back to the companies limited by shares. So just as the name suggests, it's a company limited by shares. So it means you have shares
in it.
Yes. And then on top of that, you obviously have to have shareholders.
I think, put it this way, for someone who might find it hard to think of shares, when you set up a company, the law expects that you should have responsibilities over that company. For example, one of the responsibilities we're going to talk about, for example, is filing annual returns. And so, because all of you have, if you set up a company, you have chosen a responsibility. What we mean by a company limited by shares is you are choosing the extent of your responsibility in that company. That if you have more shares in a company, that means that you have more responsibility. In law, the cool word we use for that one is liability. That's why it's said we're limited by shares, meaning your liability is limited to that portion of shares. That means that if you have an issue, this is that your shares represent the extent of your responsibility in that matter. So I think that one can be an easy way, because we might assume that everyone understands shares automatically. But what we mean by shares is what is the extent of your responsibility in that company?
Yeah.
Yes. So, Christine, you mentioned, since we are on the topic of companies, yes, there's another thing that I've come to realize that I want to debunk maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I realize that in Uganda, we have a lot of people who just had capital, went and bought things from a wholesaler, and started their shops.
Yeah.
They are just hearing about URSB for the first time on this TikTok. They're just hearing for the first time that there is such a thing as registering a company. Yet they are conducting businesses. And the reason why I wanted us to have a conversation about this is SMCs versus Soul Ventures. Now, since we're talking about
what are SMCs?
Just for clarity, it's definitely not self-made circumcision. When you talk, yeah, when you talk about SMCs in the context of companies, yes, it's something different. And I'll leave Kristen to be able to break down what SMCs are. And I think maybe I'll talk about Soul Ventures because sometimes I realize some people think I have a Soul Venture, then you find out they're registered, you're like, oh, so maybe you can take it from there just to complete that one. What's an SMC?
Yeah, thank you, Ben, and thank you for the person that has asked that question. SMC in full is a single member company. So here, these are like this is a business entity for people that do not want to deal with so many people. Yeah.
It's not
like,
a crime.
It's not. It's actually not. You
Yeah.
don't want to deal with a lot of administrative work, a lot of like managing a big number of people. You just sit down and you're like, you know what? Let me start this business as an individual.
Yeah.
This is it. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be everything in this company. So the best choice for that kind of venture is actually the single member company. Yeah. So you register your business as a single member company.
Yeah.
Yes. So URSB actually has a very easy. The process for getting this registered is very easy. It's on their system.
Yeah.
You just go open
An account.
an account, and then you can transact on that account. You can register your companies. So, however, the thing with the single member companies, the ones that we are calling the SMCs, is that whereas you are an individual,
Yes. Yeah.
just for the continuity of business,
Yeah.
yeah, because then tomorrow we do not want to. Okay, it's unfortunate. Oh, so and so has like gone.
Yeah.
And then the whole business collapses. It
Yeah.
just dies a natural death.
Yes.
So the law has put it in place that actually, in the event that actually that happens, unfortunately, there is continuity for business. There is actually continuity for business.
Yeah.
So there, as you are registering your single member company, the law mandates that yes. So okay, just to have it in like a more clear thing, precisely is there is a single member. So you're like the main, let's say, person.
You're the main actor.
You're the
in that
main
movie.
actor.
So now mobile money is like an
SMC.
yeah.
I mean,
from a mobile money guy.
I think
What from a that guy?
we would have to ask each of them individually.
Yeah.
But I think when she talks about single member companies, and I like the fact that we've ended with that one there, because what happens is if you are a single member company, despite the fact that you are the single member who has started it and primarily operates it, yes, you are different from the company. Because that is the beauty, and that is part of the reason why many people and most of you think that the only way to do business in Uganda is to set up a company. Yes. One of the best reasons why people find companies the best thing to use as a business vehicle to enter into business is because it offers you a sort of shock absorber from the activities of the business. In law, we have two kinds of people. Yes, we have natural people like Christine and I. Yes, we are called natural persons. However, in law, we also have what we call legal persons. What is a legal person? A legal person is anything that is created by law. For example, a company is something that is defined by law.
Yeah.
In Uganda, we know a company by law. As a matter of fact, for any of you who have cousins who have gone to law school, they'll tell you that in the Companies Act, they define a company as one which is registered under the Companies Act. That means that it basically finds its personhood by the law.
Yeah.
Now, those ones are called legal persons. Yeah. Now, you as a person who is a proprietor of a single member company, whereas you are a natural person like Christine and I, with a national ID that you're about to renew very soon, yes? That single member company, the SMC that you've registered, is not you. It is a legal person. It has separate legal identity from you. And why is that important? Any of you, if you've conducted many businesses like me and Christine, you understand that it is possible, and I mean, we've given the statistics that 70% of businesses in Uganda do not make it past the second year. That means that things could go wrong. We hope that they don't go wrong. However, it is possible that they might not go wrong. Yeah. I mean that they might not go well. In the event that they go wrong, if you have registered a company, meaning you have now a separate legal person, the law will see that it is the legal person that has failed, not you, the person. And that is very important to have that shock absorber, to know that if things go wrong with this company, they will sue the company. And yes, I'm the director and I will answer for it. However, I am not the one, meaning they won't come for my private property necessarily. They will go for the company's property.
Yeah, but then just for that,
Yeah,
people that run these companies should not forget that there are also certain instances where that protection is
can
actually
be removed.
lifted. It is removed completely, and they come for you as individuals that are running that particular company. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of those instances could be fraud.
Yeah. You're not going to set up an SMC so that you can rob people and say the company
and then
stole.
run away. What? Because Ben has explained here, you have protection of the legal. No friend. They will come for you as an individual of the company.
Okay,
so we have some questions here. Yes. Hey, Otorem says, if I have a border, should I also open a company?
Now that's where we enter into a sole venture. Now, a sole venture is a person who has decided to put themselves as one person with the business.
Yeah.
Now, this is common, border people, for example, even for example, most of our shopkeepers. Yes, until recently, when KCCA now started coming for fees for trading license, what, that's when many of them at least started getting at least a business name. However, a sole venture is where you as a person conduct business as a natural person. Yes, that's another business vehicle. Yes, it's not a company. So we should always separate between a single member company and a sole venture. Those are two different things. A single member company is registered. Yes, and there is a difference between you, the individual, and the company that you have registered. While a sole venture, many times, if for example, find that sole ventures will just get like a business name. By the way, you can only just get a business name. You can register. It's 20 what? Is it 35 now?
It's now 35.
35,000 shillings. You register online. You can get a business name. Yes. Christine and Sons Company. I mean, Christine and Sons. Yes. It's not company limited. That one. Christine and Sons. Yes.
Could be Mama something.
Exactly.
Restaurant.
Mama what? The things. Now, URSB recently began what they call online registration services. Yeah. Okay. The company that, the entity that is in charge of registering all businesses in Uganda is called the Uganda Registration Services Bureau. So if we're talking about URSB, well, meaning the Uganda Registration Services Bureau, they do much more than that. But for the purpose of this live here, we're attending to the business person. Yes. So they have now moved their things digital, as they like to call it. Yes. And they have what they call online business registration. Yes. So if you would like to register anything that we're talking about, that's company limited by guarantee, company, all those other things. Yes. What you simply have to do is to go online to the website of Uganda Registration Services Bureau,
Yeah.
and then it will give you an option of to create an account. Yes.
Account, yeah.
Now, many times, of course, some people find that, of course, it's complicated, and that's why they hire people like us at the MSME Garage to do it. And of course, if you need help with that, feel free to reach out to us, and we're able to help you. But it's nowadays done online. There's a time when we used to fill in papers, we used to go to Georgian House near CPS, but now,
So you're saying if it's online, I don't need you guys.
Christine, they don't need you.
So, much as the processes are now online, obviously navigating the system could be a little technical for so many people. So that is why you could just reach out to some people for assistance, and they guide you here and there on what exactly to do to get that particular process accomplished. Yeah. So yeah, obviously, and really, there are really busy people who don't have time to just do this work. So why not reach out to the experts that can just help you do this and and
yes,
get
expert.
and get the results in. So Christine, while we have you, let's someone has asked, can I start a company alone? If I die and my children are young, does the company die? Oh, thank you so much for that question. Whoever has asked, Yeah. So what the person has actually asked, I hope in the event that they have actually registered a single member company, I think that is the situation here. Yeah, so actually, I think before Ben actually went on to explain, so as we were talking about the single member company, so there is what they call there is a single member. You're like the main person in the single member company, and then the law mandates that whereas that is you need to nominate what we call a nominee director. So single member, then now nominee director. So the nominee director's role is to come in the event that the single member is maybe not in position. Yes, is not in position to do their role, or maybe they're just incapacitated to do what they're supposed to do. And then there is who we call the alternate director. So the alternate director is nominated to come in and fill in the role of the nominee director in the event that the nominee director is not able to actually just run their duties in the company. So in all this, we are really just looking at the continuity of the business. In the event that actually the main person, that is the single member, is not able to. So here we have single member, we have the nominee director, and then we have the alternate director. Clearly, you have all those three persons in this. It's single member company, but still just for the continuity of business for
even
these eventualities.
Even for the purpose of that person, I can even continue and even say this. Yes, I can continue and say that actually part of the reason why, when we talked about the fact that when you set up a company, you have brought a responsibility on yourself. Yes. So you, the single member, have brought a responsibility on yourself. However, URSB, yes, wants to make sure that in case anything happens to you, there can be someone else to attend to that responsibility. Hence, the nominee director and alternate director. However, if you want something to just be something that your son can just take over and something like that, Soul Venture is more the thing for you. You get yourself a business name. The business name is mostly so that maybe you can be able to pay for trade licenses, because as a business operating in any locality in Uganda, even if it's a municipal, if you're in Kampala, you've heard about trade licenses. Basically, you need to have a license with the local body to be able to conduct business within that area. That's what a trade license is all about. You can, that one day you can have a sole venture where you just Mama Perez and what and daughters. And that can be the name of your business name basically, and it's a sole venture. That means that anything that happens falls squarely on you, Mama Perez, and your daughters who are running that restaurant. So most people actually choose companies because they want to insulate themselves. They want to make sure that if anything goes wrong with this company, yes, at least let that be dealt with by the company's things, And for me, let me have the ability to be able to pick up from here and try another thing out, you know?
So Ben,
Yeah.
is what are you saying that if I have a sole venture and the business is closing, they'll come for my things?
Yes, they'll come for your things. Yes, they'll come for your things because you do not have that insulation that we've talked about. Because you and your business are one person. You are Mama Perez and the business is yours. However, for the single member, that company or that restaurant there is the company's restaurant being operated by Mama Perez.
Yeah.
Yes, so Mama Perez has a responsibility towards the company's restaurant. So that's why, for example, you will see in companies limited by share, you'll probably be the director because you're the principal person with the most responsibility, you know, and your responsibility is to a certain extent of your shares. So, Christine, if we start a company and you have 65% of the shares, if we have 65, sorry, about that. Yeah. So if you have 65% of the shares, that means that you have more responsibility over me who has 25, 35. Just what's the math there? Yes. So 35, yes. So if I have 35%, meaning my responsibility is only to the extent of 35% as compared to her 65%.
Yeah.
Christine, we have talked a lot about companies. Shall come back.
I have my question also.
Okay.
Now, I have my boy, right?
Yes.
Now, my boy has his company.
Yeah.
Now, this guy, he has not been paying taxes for 10 years. Now, it has up to 50 million. So, the guy hit me up, is like, yo, maybe give me your ID, your TIN number, you'll be like a member of my company where I'll be paying taxes under your schools, right? So that you can get government contract deals.
Let's first go process by process. Yes, you have said you have a company.
Yeah.
Your boy has a company.
Yeah.
This guy has evaded taxes. He has dodged URA successfully for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then
so it has grown up to 50 million.
Okay.
But now he wants to work with government, and they want now he has put that wants to put me as
the
shareholder,
as a
so
shareholder.
that now that my name now he pays taxes in my name. Yeah. So now that one of 50 million, what happens to it? Like, is it forgiven?
Well, a couple of things. I think first of all,
am I safe if he doesn't pay?
Just say you're not safe. That is the simple answer. Now, this is the complicated explanation. A bit complicated. I'll start at Christian, maybe you add up. First of all, you cannot you cannot have a company that hasn't paid taxes for 10 years and you are still operating. Typically, what URSB does, if for 5 consecutive years you have not filed annual returns, of which we're going to talk about annual returns, yes? But basically, if for 5 consecutive years if for 5 consecutive years if you have not been able to pay your taxes, yes, and because of that you have not filed annual returns, yes, after 5 years URSB strikes you off the company record, because you see, when you're registered as a business, Jesse, you are added onto a certain list of businesses in Uganda that operate. And that list is a public record. Even you, for example, you can go on that list and check. If, say, for example, one person tells you, I want I'm giving you a job in this company. You can go online and search for that company. Yes. Now, if someone does not pay taxes for 5 years, yes, and does not file annual returns, automatically that person is striked off of that list, meaning you will not exist as a company. Yes. But in terms of the liability, for even those years you not pay taxes, they can come for you. Yeah, I think Christian, you can pick it up from there.
What about me now? He's now paying taxes under my name. Am I safe?
You cannot, because he cannot even transfer shares to you, because at that point there, if you have not been filing annual returns for more than 5 years, automatically he cannot give you shares because the company no longer exists. Yeah, it no longer exists.
But now he has been making money. What about those past 5 years?
Now that person, now that's where Christine enters in right there.
Yeah, because the thing is, is it's your responsibility as a citizen to actually pay these taxes. If you have decided to open a company and your company is fairly making good money, and you are required, by the law to actually remit taxes to the government. Like, it's your duty. Pay the taxes.
No, but what happens? Like, can it be a slap on the wrist? Like, hey, this guy refused to pay taxes.
Now, what happens is, yes, because the responsibility to pay taxes is mandatory, yes, unless you have been given an exemption or a waiver, because it's possible by the as a business, you can apply to URA and ask for it, what they call a tax exemption. That is basically for URA to be able to excuse you from paying certain taxes which are mandatory. Yes. Now, but it's your responsibility, and you not paying taxes is you trying to not only cheat the government but other Ugandans, because it is supposed to be the case that all the social services that we receive come from our taxes. So if you're not paying, it's a criminal offense, and that is one of the conditions which Christine was talking about when she said that if someone does not, if someone commits fraud or fraudulent activities, the corporate veil will be lifted. Meaning, even if you have a company, we shall come for you as an individual. So your boy will be picked as him in his full name. Yes, for you will be safe. They will pick him as him. But also, you will not be able to buy shares from him because you are SB. At some points, Christine, you know this for a fact that if a company has not done certain things, URSP will not allow you to continue to do any other transaction until you fulfill those things, including annual returns. But we shall continue from there.
Christine, there's a question on that conversation of taxes. I am making losses. Where can I now get the money to pay taxes? So, if a person is making losses, they still have to pay taxes. Oh, thank you so much for that question. The biggest question actually we have been getting is people saying, okay, I have opened this company, but I'm not making that much money to be able to pay the taxes. Won't URA come for me? Won't this and this come for me? The thing is, if maybe you opened a company and you are fortunate enough to keep making money in maybe the first years and things like that, you see, there is what we call tax returns. This is you declaring to URA, like, just the status of your business.
My financial status.
Yes, your financial status of your business. So, one thing that people neglect is you have opened a company, you just sit back. You sit back, even when you're not making money. At least what URA wants is inform it. Inform them that whereas I'm here, I have opened my company, I'm not making money. File those returns and file nil, nil, nil. Put those zeros. Don't be ashamed to put those zeros that I'm not making the money. That way, in their records, they have it that, oh, this company
does not have anything for us to get.
Yes, it doesn't have anything for us. So that way, they do not come for you. One thing many businesses are doing here is you open a company, you have a company TIN number, and you sit back. You see what URA is going to do? It's going to make its assessment. Probably basing on the nature market of your business or the market or something.
Your construction business has
slap you with an assessment and they sit back. For them, they have assumed you are out there, you're making money, and that is it. This is how much you owe us. This is how much you're supposed to pay us. So it is really your duty as a business owner to keep filing these returns, the tax returns. If you're not making the money, or if the business is making the losses, at least endeavor to file those returns. File zero. If you've not made profits this month, please go and file. Yes.
So I haven't made losses. I've made negatives.
I have made losses. At least. When are you supposed to file? The returns are filed.
Well, when you've just registered a company, the law specifies that you're supposed to file returns within the first 18 months. After that, you're supposed to file them every year. You're supposed to file them every year. And I think, Christine, maybe even before you leave that topic, we have also had clients as well that we do this for. And you will tell them you're filing returns, and then you finish filing returns in one place, and then after they say, but you're still filing returns, because there is something between filing returns with URSB and URA. Can you be able to maybe add some flesh on that one there? Because some people think on URA. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much. And that is the thing, guys. Business owners, it's like only concentrate on URA. You've registered a company. You sit back. Now your biggest worry is URA, not knowing that much as you have actually registered this company, you have an obligation to file what we call the annual returns at URSB.
Yeah.
Yes. So at URA, you file tax returns. Yeah. Those
So
ones.
first differentiate tax returns and annual returns for us.
Yeah. Obviously, now the tax returns are really your financial status of the business. You have opened a business or rather a company to make money. So URA has the mandate to collect taxes on behalf of Ugandans in the country. So they want your portion. You are a business. I mean, you are enjoying the services that are being provided by these taxes that are being paid. So you pay your portion as a business. Yes. Yes, so I think it's June where you are supposed to file those tax returns. That is a financial year.
Yeah, because Uganda's financial year ends in June and begins in July.
Yes.
June 30th, then July 1st.
Yes, so by that time you should have filed your tax returns, your financial statements with URA. If you've made losses, please declare that. If you've not made any money, please declare that. Yes. If you have made money as well, please declare it. So that is what we call the tax returns.
Yeah.
And then now back to URSB, the Uganda Registration Services Bureau.
Yeah.
There you file what we call the annual returns. Yes, guys, difference.
Yeah.
Tax returns, URA.
In
annual
summary,
returns,
there's a difference between making money and filing that you have made or not made money.
Yeah.
So whether or not you made money, you have, once again we talked about this. If you have a company, you have inherited a responsibility. Now this is one of those responsibilities. You have a responsibility to declare and state your position financially, both to URA and URSB. And just as a highlight, the tax returns are around June 30th at the end of the financial year. Annual returns at the end of the year, or at least by the end of the day. You could do it within, you can, in November, it won't hurt, but at least every year, URSB wants to know that you filed something. So report at least whether you've made it or not.
Okay.
I'm hearing
someone said, are online businesses on Instagram required to get trading licenses or to pay?
Now, the thing about trading licenses and online things, this is actually a developing thing. Yeah. One thing that you should know is that laws usually catch up with technology because technology moves faster than laws. Yes. And so things first happen, then after the law is like, okay, how can we regulate that space that is happening? Now, in Uganda, for right now, yes, our laws haven't yet directly entered into online spaces. The thing about a trading license is it is given because you are operating in a certain physical location and conducting a specific business type. So for those of you who have had trading licenses, you know, for example, they have asked you, where is your business located? And if you're located in around Namugongo, they will send you to Namugongo division. That's where you're going to pick your trading license from. And reach Namugongo division, the person serving you there is going to ask you, what business do you conduct? And so if you tell them, for example, it's IT, or I'm doing mobile money, or whatever the case might be, they will be able to look at a scale that they have developed and say, okay, businesses that conduct IT businesses in Namugongo, they pay 300,000 shillings. Yes, businesses that conduct this kind of business. So trading licenses are usually tied to physical locations. And the rationale is, since you're in that physical location, that local authority is charged with making sure that they give you certain public service amenities. So your reward, or the way you're paying back or contributing for those things to keep on running, is pay them a fee so that you can have a license to benefit from all the things that they have put in that environment to be able to sustain your business. Yes. For example, cleanliness, KCCA, for example, comes and cleans, areas. If you're operating a restaurant, Mama Perez, for example, you put your trash somewhere and KCCA comes and collects your trash. That is part of how it works at the end of the day. So if you're an online business, for now, we don't yet have a specific law that makes you. But of course, if you have an online shop, but you have because I know this happens a lot. I know there are lots of people who are in downtown. Yeah, they're in downtown. You're in downtown and you have a shop, a physical location, but most of your clients are online. So you have a catalog and whatnot. So you will pay a trading license for that physical store you have downtown, your location.
Yeah.
However, your online business, no. But if also your business is purely online, for now, enjoy that money.
Okay, so related
Yeah.
to that, someone asked, "Can I be arrested for starting and operating a company at my home? I've heard you say that businesses should have a location. What if the location is my home?"
Honestly speaking, it depends on the kind of business that you're doing. The URSB does not have a problem with you selling clothes out of your home because you can put them in your wardrobes and package them and put them there. My sister, for example, I don't know, am I allowed to do a kalango? But yeah, she makes salads and supplies them from her house and whatnot. She has a company, she runs it from home. Yes. So it depends on the kind of business that you're conducting. However, there are sensitive businesses. For example, imagine if you had to go to a drug shop in someone's apartment. Now there you will have a problem. Yes. So I think and it depends kind of question because even this one for food, you have to be careful because there's UNBS.
Yes.
That's also another Uganda National Bureau of Standards. Yes. How sure are we that because they are charged with making sure that people's public health is protected by ensuring standard goods on the market. But for you, just in your kitchen, how do we know? So even my sister should come for us. The garage would be willing to help you register and find a physical space that you can use. don't Please don't food poison people. Yes.
As a follow-up, someone asked, does KCCA also collect taxes?
Okay. Kristen, do you want to take that up? Yeah, they do.
Yes, they do.
Your trade licenses, local service tax.
Yeah.
We can talk about that here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, KCCA is mandated with obviously you have your company. You now need a trading license. You're going to run to KCCA, but let's bear in mind that KCCA is for the Kampala division. Yeah. So I'm sure people up country would be maybe asking,
Municipal divisions,
yes,
yeah.
oh, so how about us who are up country? Where exactly do we get those trading licenses? You just go to the municipal council, yeah, to the municipal offices. There is usually an office there that is mandated with issuing these trading licenses. If you're in Gulu, you go to the municipal. If you're in Lira, yeah, you're in Iganga, you do not have to come to Kampala. Yeah.
It's about your local
Yeah, it's
jurisdiction.
about your local jurisdiction. Yes.
Yeah, and actually, that's where local service tax is added, and this is one of the most recent taxes. Yes, and we're planning. If you're a business owner, there keep close on our social media spaces. We're organizing an event for businesses around just taxes, talking about taxes. So be on the lookout for that one there. But when you're getting a trading license, yes, there's what we call local service tax.
Yeah.
Local service tax is charged on every employee who works within that business in that jurisdiction. Yeah. For example, Barefoot Law offices at Plot 1 Mwafu were in Ntinda. Even us, you and I, Christine, pay local service tax, yes. And that local service tax does not go to URA. That one there, KCCA, is the one that welcomes that money with one hand. Yes. So local authorities, not just only KCCA, but municipal councils, for example, for those of us who are from upcountry, at least I think the lowest level of a tax collecting body is a municipal council. Yes. Yeah, they collect taxes here and there, and usually those taxes are created by bylaws. Your councillors, yes, they sit down and they decide, you know what, we need to do this, and this, and the money that is coming from government is not enough. Therefore, let us be able to come up with this tax so that we can be able to extend these services to the people in our area. So those are some of the things you should consider in this election period. Your councillors have the power to decide, and decide and say, okay, let's set up another tax so they could burden you. So you choose wisely.
Someone asked, as a small business, how can I get a loan quickly? Can small businesses even get loans? They don't really have a lot of money in their account, but they want a loan. Yeah. Thank you so much for that question. So maybe just to circle back. Now this is where it's very important to get to know which business vehicle you want to do. Yeah. We talked about companies earlier. Companies, and then the sole ventures, and then
Yeah.
The sole proprietorships.
Yeah.
So here, so for the sole proprietorships, remember, as we had explained, you're a one
It is
man's
you as
army.
you.
A one man's army. Yeah. So here, the disadvantage, guys, is that it's very hard to trust one person with money.
Naturally speaking.
Naturally speaking, yeah.
Mm.
Honestly, I don't know, but I think if maybe I had money and there are like various people before me that need like that I need to give money to or loan to,
Mm.
I would look at how many people can I hold accountable in case
Yeah,
of
things,
anything.
yeah,
Yes.
go.
But here you're a one man's army. What if you disappear with people's money tomorrow?
Mama Perez, you could just
Yes.
enter a bus and go to Juba,
And
and
you
we would
just
never hear
disappear.
from you.
We do not know where to start from. Like there is no one else that we can fall back on to just try and chase and get our money back. Yeah. So that is the one disadvantage with like the sole proprietorships. So you just one man. So you find that you can get those loans. Yes, you can get those loans, but the trust is minimal. The trust is really minimal. So you find that even funders or people who are just willing to just give you money for your
Yeah.
business find a little bit of trouble trusting you with their money for that.
Yeah, people who give
reason.
money like looking for organized groups,
Yes.
because I think if you can organize yourself, meaning you have a certain degree of responsibility that you carry, other than yourself. Because Mama Perez, if you're opening, if for example you have your own shop and you open on the day you feel like, when it rains you can stay home, what? But a person who has a company, if you and I are in a company together, the day you don't show up, I'm thinking, so for you want me to make money and then for you just come and receive, my friend, come and work. You get, so there's more accountability within larger structures of people, or at least registered structures at a certain degree. That's why, you know, that's why we wanted to have this conversation starting from what is the kind of vehicle or style of business entity that you should register, because sometimes it will influence many other things, including, for example, taxes. Like we've talked about local service tax. You know, if you're a company, you're going to have to pay local service tax for all your employees. So if you don't have money for local service tax, you might want to consider other options, which I want us to get to. I know you have a lot of questions about this, but we are always available. Send us messages on all our platforms, Barefoot Law, MSME Garage. We shall have lawyers who are able to answer all your questions. But today we wanted to not only just look at companies, because we know you guys know about companies, but Christy, we want to talk about what are those other business vehicles that people can consider in Uganda. Some of them even exist as well. Which one? Which one are you thinking about?
So there is also what we call partnerships.
Okay.
Yeah. So partnerships, I think I had hinted on it earlier.
Yeah.
I myself am here. I have a particular like thing I'm so good at.
Yes.
But then I think the vision that I have may not be able to come to life
with only me.
Yeah, with only me. So I invite other people. I invite Ben here, maybe who is very good at something. I invite
who is very rich.
Yes. I invite an accountant who's going to come and check our books and just make sure our monies are being spent well. Yeah. And then I also, there is just that big person that has the money. You also invite them for
even
them.
People who have connections. They're just people who have social capital.
Exactly.
They know who
Exactly.
to go
So
to.
you look around and you're like, oh, this person's connections could actually just grow our what?
Yeah.
Like our business. So you also invite him in and be like, for you, your role is to just get us those bids or just get us the gigs, just keep the gigs coming through. Then there will be also, you find that there is just that person that has the money. They have the money and they need somewhere to put that money in. So you're like, you know what? Come through, join us. You just invest in the what? In the business. You just keep giving us the business, or rather the money to invest in the business. So that's where the partnership.
Yeah, I think one thing I know about partnerships is that very many people are actually in partnerships, but they do not know it.
Yeah.
You know why? In Ugandan law, yes, as long as a group of people have come together to conduct a business in common with the view of making a profit, if you've not been registered as a company or anything else, automatically they assume that you are a partnership. So if you're out there, you and a couple of your friends, you are conducting a business in common, yes, and the whole aim of it is to gain profits, you are a partnership already, even before you register anything else that you might choose to do. Yeah. And sometimes it's convenient. Some people, of course, are like that because they haven't yet maybe decided until, of course, they came to this life what they want to register as, or for some reason they do not want to start a company, for example. Yeah, there are very many reasons why.
Yeah.
Many of them start out in partnerships. Yes,
Yeah.
and partnerships, of course, have advantages that are that the reason why people choose them sometimes, because, for example, Christine, you and I have said that, for example, for Soul Venture,
Yeah.
you just need 35,000 shillings.
Yeah.
But there could be someone here who only has data to see this live here, but they don't have 35K.
Yeah.
Yet they want to conduct business to make profit, yes, and they're doing it with other people. Such sometimes some people might choose to do a partnership because they don't yet have that 35K to get a business name,
Yeah.
or they don't have the monies for registering a company. Yes, a partnership exists as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, of course, for us as lawyers, we always have this saying that the palest ink is better than the best memory. Many times, many of the cases we handle in court are basically because some people had gentlemen's agreements, and later on, the gentleman in them disappears. Yes, or the lady in them disappears. So we often recommend at the end of the day that even if you set up that partnership, naturally, put it in writing.
Put it in writing.
Yeah. They're called partnership deeds. Yes. Get a brilliant lawyer like Christy. She can draft you a partnership deed, and what that partnership deed will be, is think of it like a constitution, which determines and says, this is who we are, this is what we are doing together, and this is, for example, how we want to share our profits. Because at the end of the day, should anything go wrong, at least we shall have a document. You imagine you go to court and it is basically a debate of he said, she said. It's like a domestic battle in court. Like, you will be frustrated. So put it in writing and register it. Once again, you can register it with URSB. You can just register it as a partnership deed. Yeah. URSB has that option. I think it's about 55,000.
Yeah, it is.
Plus minus bank charges, people. Yes, send bank charges. Yes.
The problem that's usually there is in partnership deeds.
Yes.
What if like so many business people downtown there,
Yeah.
may not know about partnership deeds.
Yes.
Or
akazungu kangi
yes, so
Friday.
can these things they can be writings be in Uganda, will they be recognized?
Yeah, it can be in Uganda. Actually, you realize, for example, many of you, I'm sure, have bought land up country and you wrote it in your local language. Actually, usually the LC writes it in the local language. Yes. So it does not matter. Yours is you just write it and register it with URSB. If ever, of course, it needs to be used in court, it will have to be translated. Yes. But if you can write in Uganda, write it. If you have a person who can write it in Uganda, write it. Or either way, you can come to us and you express to us in Uganda, because we understand Uganda. We have a team that understands Uganda, and we can be able to reduce that to you into English. Yes. And when you are sure about it, of course, and you're comfortable with it, then you are able to sign it as a group of individuals and register it, and all of you keep a copy, so that in case ever one time there's a dispute of what did we really mean here, you can be able to do that. Do you think? Can you think of any other advantages of partnership? Maybe let's compare it, for example, to a company. What other thing would you get from a partnership? Maybe, can we say maybe a partnership allows you to contribute different things apart from money?
Yeah.
Because a company, for example, to buy shares, you need money.
Yeah.
But a partnership, like she said, you can just be a guy who just knows people. I mean, for example, I've ever done businesses downtown, and I know there are many people who do, actually, this is an example of a partnership. Have I been downtown, and they're just those guys who just be in the Chikobo. He doesn't own a shop, but he will stop you and ask you, Yagara Sati. And if they determine that you want a shirt, they will hold you by the hand and take you to the shop, and you end up buying a shirt from there. Do you realize that those people, they are in a partnership? Because they are conducting a business in common. Now, for them, what they are doing is they are marketers. But then that's what they do. Yes. Now, of course, most of us want to do agreements simply because obviously the transactions are usually smaller and whatnot. But of course, as it grows bigger, you imagine, for example, let's imagine that all of a sudden that person there finds out that Barefoot Law needs shirts. They are going for outreach in Kawempe. Yes. And they are going to buy 500 shirts for their employees. And this person gets to know about also other organizations as well, like the MSME Garage. And all of a sudden, You, the person who is in the shop, they are bringing you bulk customers. You can enter into a partnership agreement. You say, I don't have the shirts, I don't know where you get them from in Guangzhou, I don't know, but nonetheless, me, I know where the customers are. I know a guy in Barefoot Law. I know the procurement officer. Yes, I know Trudy. She will give me what? The arrangement. Yeah, she'll give you the gig. And that was what you bring to the table. You can consider a partnership with those people there. So that you know, after you bring and then making 1,000 shirts and they promised you 2% on each shirt, and then you're there preparing, you know, the things of where you're expecting money and even start making orders. You're like, how much is that car? You bring it. Money is coming, and then yes, their mind. At least you'll have an agreement that said, no. You said we're bringing 1,000 shirts, on every shirt 2%. So yeah. So Christine, yes, is there a question?
Yes, I think you've confused T. He says you have mentioned so many types of taxes. Do we pay all of them, Christine?
Yeah. Now, actually, we should just invite T for our event, for our tea. Pun intended. Yeah. Because I think today we had intended to talk about the different business vehicles, but we're organizing an event very soon, and we just want to talk about those taxes, especially as a small business owner. Actually, if you're interested, you can start sending in the messages. We shall put you on the list, and we see it's a limited event, exclusive. So we shall have to know how many of you are interested, and we see how we can prepare tea for you. But since tea, you really want to know this one here, so consider yourself invited. Consider yourself invited. We are going to talk about just taxes, the basic ones in Uganda: local service tax, withholding tax, pay as you earn. Those we're going to talk about them. So if you're interested, just let us know, and we shall.
It's a tax party.
Yeah. If you can call it that.
You guys have said there are companies, partnerships, and
Soul ventures. We have handed 3
and those
papers.
are only ones.
No. There are more. And actually, one of them that I have realized that happens a lot, that people are seeing a lot, is franchises. KFC, Shell, Total, Coca-Cola. All these are businesses that are not locally in Uganda. However, you'll find KFC in Uganda, you'll find it in Kenya, you'll find it in Tanzania. How are they doing that? They have what they call a franchise. Now, maybe I can start by saying a franchise really is an arrangement where you are taking on the brand of a company and the method of how they do their business, bringing it into your own different location and remitting some profits to them. In law, we have what we call goodwill. Yes? What we mean by goodwill is that name that someone creates for themselves by being able to deliver services at a certain level of consistency and excellence. Yes? Me, for example, I like CJs. They are consistent, they whatever it is, yes, whatever business it is, you can find that there's a business that has created such a big name that if you're to bring it to a different location, you might make money out of it. You can approach this people and tell them, why don't you give me permission, yes, to use your branding, use Barefoot Law branding. If Barefoot Law is a business, yes, use Barefoot Law branding, and they also give you, for example, the secrets of how does Barefoot Law do what it does, yes, and then for you take it and you do it in another place. And Barefoot Law allows you to operate it as if it is the original Barefoot Law, as long as, for example, you sent them 20% of all the profits that you are making every month. That is a franchise. That's how we have some of those companies. Your Shell, your Total, which is a French company, but it's here in Uganda. The people who are running it are not the French company itself. It's people who have got a franchise. Yes. Now, people usually choose.
Also,
they are not the actual owners. They are just using the brand to make money. They are using the goodwill, the reputation that Total has.
Permission
from the brand. So at the end of every month, the end of every quarter, they send back a percentage of profits for using that brand, because it might be easier to make money from that Total than if you open your
own
Badman petrol station. Because we'll be like, we even know some people who take fuel from certain petrol stations. You get, So because of that, you might say, no, I know if I was to have a petrol, instead of using Badman petrol station, if I can get Total, can make money out of this one here. And indeed, you can go get a franchise, and that's how you enter your business instead of registering your company, Badman Company Limited. You get it.
Petroleum, what, no.
Exactly. You know the names. You've seen those names of those petrol stations, and you know why you don't go there.
You don't go there.
You get, because they don't have the goodwill of other people, so you can get a franchise. That's also another business vehicle.
Yes.
And typically, these ones here are by contract. That's how you register. You don't register them necessarily. You can register the documents with URSP.
Yeah.
By the way, you can register any document for evidence purposes with URSP as a legal document. That one there. And we recommend it, generally speaking.
So does that mean when I get a franchise, I now own it until when maybe I die or something like that? Because we've spoken about contract.
Yes.
Does that mean I can only have that franchise for 5 years or 10 years, or it's for, because I've got it, it's mine till the end?
Yeah. Now, that one there is what happens in the franchise agreement. As the lawyers, me and Christine, the experts, we call it an FCC. Yes. What you'll have is it's an agreement that defines who are you. For example, for petrol stations, if you're getting a franchise, you have certain parameters that they put for you. For example, you're supposed to sell a certain amount of fuel per month. They will tell you maybe the price at which you might sell it at, and what is your percentage. They will tell you if you don't hit these targets, the contract might end and we shall remove it from you. Or they will tell you this one is for 3 years and it's renewable if you hit these targets. Now, all those things there, it's a contract. They happen within that contract there that Christine and I draft for you. Yes? So that's what usually happens. These ones are under contract. They are created by a contract, an agreement between you and the original owners of that brand that you're representing.
Contract, it's important that you state all those things that that you're supposed to abide by. So even time is very, very important. Is it a lifetime thing? Is it just a 3 years thing? A 2 years, 10 years? So it's very important to just note some of those details in the contract so that tomorrow you're not left to just assume.
Now, Christine, I want you to talk about another vehicle that is common. I know many people have seen it, but they do not know that this is another way. This is what we call distributors, and their favorite motor vehicle is a tuk-tuk. You've seen them around Kampala. They're just people, they wake up in the morning in a tuk-tuk or the small vans, and all they're doing is stopping everywhere. Some of them parking funny places, but they're just people who are in a distributor. Can you talk about just generally about a distributorship?
Yeah, so also for distributorship is you get into contact with like the brand or maybe the people that make a particular product, and you just agree with them that I'm not going is that maybe I do not want to own this, I do not want to maybe do certain things. All I want to do is just supply. I have the shops, I have the contacts of the shops, and and for me all I will do is come to the main depot, pick up and distribute to those particular maybe shops or companies or organizations and things like that. It's just actually it is a very lucrative business that is coming up now. If you've noticed here, the tuk-tuks that actually Ben has talked about, those people are making money through distributorship. It is purely distributorship. So you even see how
they don't sell any extra product, they don't invent.
They do not. It is how many maybe pieces of this do you want, how many of this, and then he goes to the depot. I don't know, whatever capital he has, picks up what he needs, and then he just takes it around and distributes it.
I also want to start working Coca-Cola, such as I own my own Coca-Cola things. What do I do? Should I just go to a random depot after work today and I get different crates and I start selling? Will that also be a distributorship?
No.
Contract.
So what do I do?
Yeah, it's essentially a contract. Yes. Where it usually cuts off some people and how you will choose, usually saying that Toyamba size you, is that many of these distributorships will usually ask you to bring some money up front. And usually sometimes that money is sometimes a lot, asking someone for 500 million shillings up front. Yes. Usually, part of the reason why they ask for that money is simply because, number one, they want to know that you're a serious person. Because you people also know yourselves. Some of you have begun businesses and you have never really followed through with them. Yet these are companies that have targets, because usually distributorships are usually done with big companies.
Yeah.
Yes, you have a company, they are doing petroleum jelly and supplying it across the whole country. They are very serious about their business. Yes, so what they want is to make sure that they are dealing with serious people. So they might ask you, for example, to put 500 million shillings on the table as a guarantee.
Yeah.
Sometimes also the reason why they ask, apart from sieving who is serious, part of the reason why they ask you for that money there is also as a guarantee that you're not going to run away. Because imagine if Coca-Cola gives you a whole truck of Coca-Cola worth 40 million, why would you return? Some of you, that might be the last time we hear from you. We never hear from you again. So to make sure that you will come back, if I say, okay, first bring 100 million, we put it in an account here, so that we know, no, you have a reason to come back from me. Yes. And of course, obviously, over time, as you develop trust, things can change. But once again, this one here, it's down to contract as well. And I think it's even almost the same as an agency as well.
Yes.
Those ones there also, you're also representing another person. Yeah. These are also business vehicles that are available, and all these ones here are through we recommend contracts. Even if we don't recommend it, if you go to a big company and you say you want to distribute, they will put you in a contract. Of course, we can recommend, you might have to give it to Christine here to look through it to make sure that the terms are fair, because just because it's looking like a lucrative deal and seeing more zeros than you've ever seen in your life, you might rush into it. At least you want to make sure you get that legal insight in terms of, can you look through for me contract review and look through for me this contract here, so that I make sure that I'm not signing a death sentence at the end of that day. Because it's a contract, you can be sued for breach of contract if anything happens there. So distributorship, franchise, agency, all those ones, contract. By contract, draft it, register it to URSB preferably, so that, because we've had, Christine, we've seen people where sometimes you draft a contract with someone and then something goes wrong and you go to court and they're now contesting that, no, the contract we signed is this one, and you're saying, but I have a different contract. Because some people can go and say, there's a street in Kampala, I won't mention its name. Yeah. They can go and forge another contract. So it's part of the reason why we usually recommend people to register their documents, especially sensitive documents like that contract. Yes, is so that at least we shall be able to know if you agreed today is the 16th. If your contract was done on the 16th and all of you signed and you just studied to URSB on the 16th, someone else can't come with another contract that is not that one there. Because already URSB already has timestamps, so they will know, no, this contract here came before any other contract. Yeah.
There's a question. So, what start an NGO? Non-for-profit. Talk about non-for-profit.
Social enterprise, yes.
Social enterprise.
Yeah. Yes.
NGO, such an NGO, is the process the same? Do I start it as a company, or because I'm not supposed to be making money from it? Or depending on how I want to do it. Or if I start my NGO when I'm alone, is it an SMC? NGO, yeah.
Like the NGO Act, which governs all NGOs, yes, determines that all NGOs must first of all be registered companies limited by guarantee. So the one of the SMC, unfortunately, you either change or you're NGO, you get, yeah. So you want to first of all ensure that you have a company limited by guarantee. Now, the question you asked, I think I like I want to address a word you say, that NGOs can't make money. That's not necessarily true. NGOs can make money. The question is, who benefits from the money? That's the ultimate question. Yes? An NGO can make money to sustain itself. Like I've given an example. For those of you who were not around, we were talking about two young ladies that we helped register, and they had come up with a technology of how to make pads using banana fiber, which is a readily available thing. Yes, but of course, to make those pads, you need some money. Yes, to be able to pay the people who are making those pads, you need some money. To be able to get into a van to distribute those across all the villages in the district, you need some money. Now, that NGO can make money in terms of, whereas let's imagine, yes, that a normal pad, a pack of pads might be 10,000 shillings. And for them, they're saying, no, these ones you only pay 2,000 shillings. Yes, they are making money. Yes, however, that money is not for them to go to go to Dubai. No, that money is to make sure that they can pay the person who is helping them in the factory to make them, that they can have fuel to be able to drive to the locations to give the sanitary parts that people that need them. So NGOs can make money. The process of registering them. Now, Christine, I think you can talk about that one as the expert in the field.
Okay. Yeah. So you want to set up an NGO. So just as Ben has said, you need to firstly incorporate a company limited by guarantee. So after you have done that, then you embark on the process of registering the NGO. So yeah, the NGO registration process is quite like the requirements are not for like a company. The requirements needed for registering an NGO are quite many. Yeah, so you need to identify where you need to set up your NGO.
Location.
The head office of the NGO. So once you've like settled on that, then you have to get recommendation letters from particular offices in that particular locality. Obviously, they have to attest to have to know you in the area or to having witnessed your work in the community, and yeah, so that by the time your file goes to the NGO bureau, at least there is some sort of trail of trust from the different officials on ground. So who are these officials? Firstly, the LC1. You need to get a recommendation from the LC1 of your locality, of where your head office is supposed to be. LC1. We also shall need recommendation from the LC2. We shall also need a recommendation from the LC3. Then we shall need a recommendation from
the minister.
Yeah, but like minister is like
The last.
Yeah, he's one of the last people. We are still down here on ground. The CDO. So the CDO is the community development officer. That person also has to give you a recommendation letter. Then there is the DCDO, so that is the district community officer. That person is also supposed to recommend you. They're supposed to write you recommendation letters. In those letters, they're just supposed to say, this is addressed to the CEO of the NGO Bureau, and we attest to the fact that we have known this person, or rather, we have known this organization in the area. They do these and these activities, and we would recommend that with your assistance at the NGO Bureau, you help them register as an NGO.
Yeah.
Yes, so the DCDO, we are done with that. And then we get to the RDC. Yeah, that is the Resident District Commissioner. He also has to recommend you. Security wise, we go to the ISO. Yeah, that is the Internal Security Officer.
Was the auditor?
Yes. In here, we do not want to register organizations that are going to come and disorganize the community.
And start guerrilla warfare.
Yes. So the security personnel in the area needs to know you. They need to recommend you. So you also need that recommendation from the ISO. Yes. And then, and then after that, you have to face a committee. So that committee is the district monitoring
NGO monitoring committee.
Yeah. The district, yes, the DNMC.
Yeah.
The district, yes. Yeah. Monitoring NGO committee. Yes. So it's actually a serious committee. You sit in a board, you ask questions, so many questions, but they are really answerable questions. I mean, if you know the kind of work you're doing in the community, you should be able to answer those questions. So after that committee sits, they are supposed to finally give you a recommendation letter, the main recommendation letter that you also attach. Because actually that is the most important recommendation, because that committee is like the biggest of all. They should have vetted you and looked at your file, and they're like, go ahead. Yes, then after that you go to the ministry. So whichever ministry your activities fall in is the ministry you go to. They are also supposed to recommend you. The ministry recommendation letter. After that, you get your file, pay the necessary fees, and on top of that, please note, you need to know what kind of NGO you need to register. There are many types of NGOs. We have the local NGOs. Those ones are purely those ones that are run
Christine,
by.
about this, but just pay you. We help them do this. Kumanga.
Yes, but but yeah, I think we shall just do another live to just I think run through the NGO process purely on NGO registration processes. Yes, so after that you just take this file to the NGO bureau, which committee will sit, vet your file, and if they see you're fit for purpose, you have fulfilled all the requirements needed, they will issue you with a permit. Yes, to operate for the number of years you have asked for.
Okay, Christian,
Yeah.
I think it's lunchtime. Even me, I'm hungry. Nang in the mood. We're about to wrap this up, but I think like if someone was just joining right now, yeah, what would be your takeaways in terms of what we have had as a conversation today, in terms of business registration in Uganda? For what would be your parting shots for them?
Yeah, my parting shots would be that it is like whereas we have those ideas in our heads, or it is very important to just have them written down and fully registered by the necessary entities or authorities that are in charge.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow you just wouldn't want to face a certain, I don't know, eventuality, and all you have to do is look on. At least where there is evidence trail, it's easier to defend. It's easy to even just like state your case. Yeah. For me, really, that is it. Register, document, and after documenting, go ahead. At least take those documents to URSB for authentication and registration.
Yeah. Well, I think also if you're joining us here, basically at the beginning we say that we are doing this live here because we are talking to people who we hope are going to mean business about their business, and generally speaking, we have spoken about everything that pertains to business registration, at least from within the time range that we're allowed. Of course, there's a lot more definitely we can be able to talk about. And lucky for you, we are active on all our socials, Barefoot Law, MSME Garage. So don't hesitate to reach out. We can be able to go deeper for those of you. For people like T, we're even looking forward to having you very soon at one of our events pertaining to taxes. But if you had missed this, I think if I was to do a recap, I would say we began and say that when you have a business idea, there are very many options of how you can be able to enter into the market. Yes. And we say that many of those options there, if you know the full length of them, then you can be able to make the best decision. And we say that it starts first of all from the team that you have. Depending, do you want to do this alone? Do you want to do this with a couple of people? Are they many people? Are they few people? Yes. What is the level of responsibility you want to have towards whatever you're about to start? Do you want to concentrate more on doing the business and administrative things, or you don't mind being able to run that thing? Do you want to protect yourself in case things go wrong, or do you not want to protect yourself? You're comfortable, for you're sure your thing will not fail. Yes. And we say that when you have all those considerations, you have a lot of options to choose from, because companies are not the only option in which you can be able to do business. Yes. You have companies, you have partnerships. We've talked about partnerships. We've talked about agencies. We've talked about distributorships. We've talked about franchises. Yes. And many other more. And we are happy to continue this conversation with you on all our platforms. We thank you so much for tuning in, for listening in. Kindly subscribe, like, share, follow, and for those of you who would like to reach out to us, maybe to ask other questions, you could call us directly on our contact. This will be written in our messages. But for those of you who would like to write it down right now, it's the garage number is 075 792 5199. I'll repeat again. It's 075 792 5199. Reach out to us, send us a message, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, X, YouTube, wherever that might be. We're here to serve you, and we are glad you could join us, and enjoy Friday responsibly. See ya.
Enjoy the weekend. Bye.
Bye. Yeah. Christine, therefore you've not drunk any of your water. Yeah? You've talked 1.5 hours. You don't need water. Interesting. Yeah. Anywho.